After 2.5 months of snow and cloud, the lost skies of 2026 finally cleared. And they cleared during the dark of the moon. The moon was only at 8%, waxing, but it would give lots of time to shoot very dark images of deep sky and deep field objects. Up to 3 clear nights were predicted, but the weather has been so fickle and so consistently bad, I decided not to trust the weather predictions and focus on a relatively bright target, which would be good even if I couldn't get the darkness around it. So I shot the Whirlpool galaxy, which you see here. It's an exceptionally good time to shoot the Whirlpool galaxy right now, as at my latitude, it's passing right over the center of the sky through the night, allowing the clearest possible imaging. And beneath a black sky without light pollution, with a moment of ideal weather and the present sub-freezing temperatures and deep snow, doing away with problems that are common around here, such as pollen and fungal spores, like thick dust in the air, I had a chance not only to capture the main body of this galaxy, which is fairly easy, it's a relatively bright galaxy, but to capture the much fainter surrounding nebulosity and haze of stars that have been scattered around this galaxy due to its tidal interactions with the nearby dwarf companion galaxy. But, as I expected, we did not get 3 clear nights, we got 1.5 good nights. However, the first night offered an exceptionally clear sky. I love the dark sky sites with no meaningful light pollution, and the seeing was ideal, with guiding often dropping down to 0.8 during the night. Sometimes it's better, but that's pretty good around here. Now this video isn't actually about shooting the Whirlpool galaxy, it's about why I meticulously and manually grade all subs and never turn it over to automatic processes. But I had to wait for the right atmospheric conditions to happen in order to get information to make this video. People who watch my processing videos point out all the time that I don't need to use PixInsight's Subframe selector, a tool for grading and calling subs. Nor do I need to visually inspect subs like I always do. That instead, I can let the weighted batch preprocessor assess, grade, and reject subs automatically. Till now, I haven't responded to those observations because I needed atmospheric conditions correct to make this video. I did touch upon this subject briefly in the last video that I made just last week, but I never allow the weighted batch preprocessor's automatic grading to assess and reject subs, and I'll tell you why. While the weighted batch preprocessor is an excellent stacking tool, it does have some problems, all software does, but one of its problems is if you're shooting on a very good night, the kind of nights where most of your subframes are going to pretty reliably be very good. Sometimes there can be a moment of extraordinary atmospheric clarity, and if a subframe is shot during that time, the weighted batch preprocessor can select that sub as the ideal, the norm against which to measure all the other subframes. And when this happens, it can become over-aggressive in its grading and calling of other subframes. In fact, on several occasions during such nights, I've had the weighted batch preprocessor reject every single subframe shot during a night except for the one that it selected as a norm. And when I went back and reviewed those subs visually, I could honestly find no meaningful problem with them. This is a well-known issue with the weighted batch preprocessor, and there are a number of forums that discuss it. Because of this, I do all subframe grading manually. First, I visually grade the subframes using an application called EarthenView. It's just a simple graphics viewer, but it can open and instantly auto-stretch FITS files. And with a single click of a delete button, it can remove an undesirable light frame directly from the stack. Now, all I'm doing during a visual inspection is glancing at the images to make sure that there are no satellite nor airplane streaks right through the target of interest, there's no obvious blockages from clouds or mist, and there are no double exposures. Sometimes I get double exposures due to weird things like a night bird deciding to perch on the telescope. And the process is very fast. I can typically grade 3 or 4 subs per second, so even though on a typical night I might end up with 500 to 700 subframes since I shoot 60-second subframe exposure time, I can grade those subframes in under 5 minutes using EarthenView. Unless it was a cloudy night, I don't generally end up losing many subs during this process. On a good night, maybe 10 or 12, but when the subframe's only 60 seconds long anyway, since I shoot short subframe exposure times, that hardly matters. Then, I use a tool in PixInsight called the Subframe Selector to do the fine grading. I will have the Subframe Selector assess the stars for full width half maximum, or focus quality, eccentricity, which is aberrations in star shape, median, which is an important standard to measure subframes by, but is complicated enough we'll spend more time on it in a moment, and then finally, star count, because reductions in the number of stars appearing in an image is a pretty good indicator, perhaps the best indicator, of some kind of optical blockage. such as mist, haze, or cloud moving across the sky. Generally, this 4-part formula works very well. It removes any problematic subframes just fine and leaves me only with the best frames for stacking. And when you're creating an image of a DSO, you're going to get a better quality image stacking fewer but better quality subframes than all your subframes, even if they have issues. Discarding everything but the best subframes can hurt. It can feel like a waste. But it's really making sure that whatever gets into the final stack is only the best, and that's what's going to provide you the best final image. If you throw the bad stuff into the stack too, then you're making the whole stack a waste. In the same way that if you're making a dinner and you burn some of the ingredients and throw them into the meal anyway, the whole meal is just going to be ruined. Well, in a sense, a stack in astrophotography is just like that. Anyway, that's not the focus of today's video. So the focus of today's video and why I don't allow any application to automatically grade my subframes, not even the subframe selector, not even though I decided what standards it was going to use to grade subs when I enter those standards in the form of a script. Because ultimately mathematics is an attempt to define things, and ultimately reality is going to defy the way we want to define things. And this concern shows up very clearly on nights like the one that we had 2 days ago. That night was exceptional. Crystal clear all night, not a wisp of haze in the sky. Excellent seeing, the air was dead calm, no moon, a perfect, truly perfect night for imaging. In the morning, as always, I collected the subframes on the SSD attached to the mini PC in the observatory, brought them back to my lab, did a quick visual grading with OrphanView, which did not reveal any problems. I think I lost 4 subs through the night due to aircraft and satellite trails. That was it. And then I had the subframe selector assess them using my standard formula. Now the subframe selector always spots problems that I don't, problems that the human mind just isn't great at seeing. And it rejected a few subs based on FWHM. So atmospheric changes had changed the focus a little bit. Not enough for my eyes to perceive, but the subframe selector did not feel they were good enough. It rejected a few subs based on eccentricity, and it rejected some subs based on star count, which most likely means there was some high altitude ice crystals or mist that I just couldn't see. Too thin, too sparse, too patchy for me to notice. But the subframe selector caught that when it was assessing star counts in each sub. But it also rejected 10% of the luminance subs based on the median measure. Now the median measure is a complex measure. It looks for a lot of things. Light pollution or sky glow, and where I live, that's not an issue. Moonlight can be an issue, but there was only an 8% moon that night. It also measures the appearance of clouds and fog, even if it's very faint and you don't see it, so that would coincide with what star counts is doing. It measures for atmospheric transparency and dawn and twilight's impacts on images. Though dawn and twilight issues were also irrelevant because I didn't start shooting till after astronomical dark, and I stopped shooting at astronomical dawn. Now, on typical nights, less than ideal nights, nights when there are a few scattered clouds or some moonlight to contend with, or a more variable atmosphere, I have found that the median measure does a great job sorting out subframes that have issues that might be missed by the naked eye on a cursory inspection, but really should not be in the stack anyway. But on moonless, clear, extraordinary nights like this night, the median measure can become bizarrely overly aggressive. And on that night, it had removed 10% of the luminous subframes, or 26 subframes that I questioned because there was no moonlight, there is no light pollution where I live. The sky was pretty consistently good all through the night, and I couldn't imagine any reason why sky transparency might change through such a good night. It also wanted to remove approximately 50% of the red, green, and blue subframes, and this left me with the same questions. Why was it being so aggressive? Now, one of the neat things about the subframe selector is you can just click on any subframe that it feels is not good enough and view the subframe in PixInsight, and couldn't see any problems with any of the subframes that it wanted to remove. Even when I zoomed in really close, I could not see problems with those subframes. Now this was to be expected. I've encountered this problem many times before. The median measure works great on imperfect nights, but when you get one of these beautiful, crystal clear nights that are nearly perfect, it seems to become overly aggressive. Perhaps the problems with the weighted batch preprocessor's tendency to grade subs overly aggressively sometimes is related to this, I don't know. But I've come across this exact issue many times, and learned a long time ago that on nights that I know are really good, really dark, and really clear, it's best not to use the median standard in the subframe selector. Removing the median measurement standard from the subframe selector is easy. All I have to do is delete that line from the script box on the right. and have it reassess the data. And this time, it left in all those perfectly good subframes that the median measure wanted to remove. That amounted to about 80 subframes, 50% of my RG&B and 10% of my luminance. I decided to demonstrate the importance of this, so I had the subframe selector grade and call subs in a fully automated fashion using the median standard as well. And then I removed the median standard from the script, allowing it to grade and call subs based only on full width half maximum, eccentricity, and star count. Then I stacked the luminance subs with the bias and flats from both groups, the group that had the median standard applied and the group that had not had the median standard applied. This produced two masters that I made no changes to. And to keep the stretching entirely uniform, I applied only the screen transfer function to them to make them visible. Here are the results. The one that the median measurement standard was applied to is on the left, and the one without the median measure is on the right. Again, these were made only from the luminance filters. The one with the median measure applied has 26 subframes less than the one without the median measure applied. That's roughly 10% of the total stack, or 235 subframes, while the one to which the median measure was not applied has 259 subframes. So, the one to which the median measure was not applied has more subframes, but the question is, were they good subframes? So it's a little bit more information, so that might provide more information in a stack, but it is only worthwhile if the subframes are good. If they're bad, they're going to mess up the master that will be the outcome from the stacking process. Let's take a look at them side by side and you can judge for yourself. We'll zoom in first and take a look at some of the stars. The brighter stars are sharper, and fainter stars show up crisper and cleaner in the image on the right. That's the one that did not have the median standard applied during the all-clear night. Let's check out another part of the image. Same outcome here. The stars are brighter and sharper in the image on right where the median standard was not applied, and fainter stars are showing. What if I do a little basic developing to the image to improve its appearance? I'll use the blur exterminator to sharpen it, then use the exact same kind of stretch on each image using my evolve stretching method. If you search my videos for evolve stretching or just histogram stretching or anything to do with histograms, I'll talk about it in those videos. And then I'll run the noise exterminator on the images. Let's see what outcomes we get. Honestly, they both look pretty good. However, there are some differences. Namely, in that the image on the right, to which the median measure was not applied, has better dynamic range. In other words, it shows subtle differences between light areas and darker areas as well. And the very fine detail is sharper. These are basic qualities that I look for in masters because it means that information is there upon which to build good development. We're a long way from a finished image here, but the key or core information that is required to get good development is there. Looking at this image, specifically at the vein of dust running in a crescent from left to right of the image just below center, the fine detail of the structure on the right is a bit better, and the delicate transition of shading is also a bit more defined, meaning that the image on the right, to which the median standard was not applied, possesses more defined information which will be key to producing a good image in development. Remember, good development doesn't add things. Good development makes the most of what is there so that we, as humans with mere human eyes, can perceive those images better. But even the best development cannot accomplish anything if the core information is not already there. So it's incredibly important to make sure that you have not only a good quantity of information, but good quality information. Everything that happens in the image's development is dependent upon this foundation. And as we can see, not allowing the subframe selector to do its own thing was essential in order to get more of the best information into the image. The subframe selector wanted to drop perfectly good subs. I'm all for dropping subs that are not perfectly good. There's no point in keeping them, they will not help the image. But the subframe selector wanted to drop perfectly good information. And so the master produced, by using the median standard from the subframe selector on this night, produced an image that was good, but did not have as much information as it could have. The master on the right is a little better, simply because it has 10% more information, and that information was perfectly good. The subframe selector using the median standard wanted to throw out those otherwise perfectly good subs, and this was using only the luminance information. The subframe selector wanted to discard 50% of the RG&B information if allowed to apply the median standard. Now, as I create this video, I'm aware of a problem in trying to present this information. I'm using a mini LED monitor with a 1,000,000 to 1 dynamic range to assess and grade this information. Whether or not you can see the differences in the information is going to depend on a couple things. One is the quality of your monitor. Cheaper monitors and IPS monitors, which are probably the least expensive monitor because they're the widest used, but also an old technology that do not have the best dynamic range, may not portray the differences in these images so well. And further complicating being able to portray this information is the problem with YouTube. It uses terrible compression, which often suppresses subtle differences between light and shadow, as well as crushing blacks. So, I don't know if you'll be able to view these differences at all. However, I will post both these masters to my Astro bin, and the links will be provided below in the description, in case you want to take a look at the images at a higher video standard. It'll still be restricted by your monitor's capabilities though. Those of you who are using OLED monitors or mini LED, VA monitors or QD-OLED should be able to see the differences. Those using older monitors like IPS may not be able to see it. However, I bet you can see this. I think most monitors should be able to portray the additional sharpness and clarity in the dust veins of the Whirlpool's companion dwarf galaxy here on the right. In fact, older monitors like IPS monitors and even some of the older model VA monitors might show it better because they don't have the same breadth of dynamic range, and so a reflected difference is sharper contrast. Right here, lower right, just off the dwarf galaxy, is IC 4277. As with everything else, you can see that the information without the median standard applied is actually clearer and sharper. It's subtle, but it's there. I think I've made my point because the entire image is very consistently like this. Even looking at the entire image of the galaxies, right here, you can see that the image on the right is more defined, has better dynamic range, more faint information shows, and it's overall crisper. Final evidence-based conclusion is that on clear nights, best practice is not to use the median measure. And then, of course, here's the ultimate evidence. This is the final image that was produced from the information gathered over both nights. The first night, it was clear all night, and I was able to shoot for approximately 10 hours. And that was the night that was crystal clear, perfect all night, so the night where I removed the median standard from the assessment. The second night was only clear until midnight, and the target didn't get high enough to shoot until 8 p.m. And even then, it wasn't a perfect night, so I left the median standard in. And on that imperfect night, the median standard did its job well, and removed any problematic subframes reliably. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the quality of the final product, this final image, is the evidence. And the evidence indicates that one should never trust any kind of automatic subframe grading system. Not the standards and measures within the weighted batch preprocessor or any other stacker. Not the standards and measures within any grading application such as the subframe selector or any other. They are useful tools, but they don't know what it is you want to accomplish. They don't even know what they're looking at. They simply apply mathematical algorithms that may or may not describe your goals and may or may not adequately define and assess conditions. But if left entirely to their own devices, one way or another, they will fail you, either by allowing bad subs to get into the stack or by overly aggressively calling and removing perfectly good subs from the stack. Always start off with the visual grading, remove the obvious problems, then do the fine grading in an application that allows you to review its results and make changes as necessary. Then, after all of that, you can know that your stack has the best light subframes in it. So turn off the ability of whatever stacker you're using to grade and reject any subframes. And then you can be assured that you'll get the best results in your stacks. And that is absolutely necessary because development builds on those results. You want as much information as possible in the images that result from the stacker, but also only the best information of those images. And the only way to make sure that you get that is to manually review and supervise every aspect of the grading process. Well, that's it for this video. That was a lot for what I had first thought would be a brief topic that would take me 5 minutes to cover. If you have any thoughts, questions, or observations, please leave them in the comments section below. And as always, have a blast doing astrophotography and get out there and shoot that incredible sky.